Welcome back, Politicking Our Way family. We've been gone away for a while, but as my grandmother once told me, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say nothing. And I haven't had anything good to say. But we're back today because it's that time of the year that's most important to everyone, and we're going to call this episode the State of the Union. Tonight, Donald Trump is going to get on TV and tell us what he thinks the State of the Union is. But right now, Nate Jenkins at Politicking Our Way is going to give you our version. But first, our disclaimers. Yes, I do need extra eyes. A little old now these days. When you get past 50, you kind of get to this point. So first, what I'm about to say, the contents of this conversation, this discussion, are strictly and solely the opinions of this guy, Nate Jenkins. They are not the responsibility of our affiliates across the fader, our production company, House of Traps Productions, Red Sage Photography, Off the Rack Productions, and anyone else connected to this conversation. These are totally my words, my thoughts, as I direct them to you, our good Politicking Our Way family. This is how we politic, and we're going to talk about the State of the Union. First, let's talk about the elephant in every room, the orange orangutan, we should say, Mr. Donald Trump. The State of the Union today is impeachment. What is it? What does it mean? I know a lot of folks are a little upset that he's still in office. He's not going anywhere. Let's understand what impeachment is. Impeachment is just bringing charges against someone sitting in a government office. So he has been impeached. He has been charged, and he is now currently on trial in the Senate. So he was impeached by the House. Great job, House. Led by the Democrats. You did your congressional duties. You did your constitutional duty and impeached that fool. But then it went over to his boys, those good guys in the Senate. You know, if you look at a picture of the Senate, it's that old boy community. You know, a bunch of old white guys. I mean, let's face it. We got a few sprinkles of minorities in there, women, Latinos, and one or two Asians, and definitely a few African Americans or blacks, as we call it. But let's not be fooled. It's the old boy network. It's the same folks that own the plantations who got a few overseers in there and said, run my folk when I ain't home, but make sure they stay in line. You know, the Tim Scotts and those types of guys. Yeah, I did call your name out, Mr. Scott. And a few other of those boogeyman type guys that are in there. So those guys over at the Senate, whatever. So let's look at it, man. Here's the status. Okay, the dude was impeached. He definitely did some crimes. They pulled him in on this phone call debacle. Okay, yeah, he pressed the guy out in Ukraine to hold up that aid, hold back that money from the ally that was already congressionally mandated, which he does not have the right to do. But in actuality, it was a crime of bribery. Let's just say what it is, man. He tried to bribe the dude. But here's the problem with it. In this whole impeachment process, you had two parties. One was a party of fools, and the other was a party of cowards. Now, some people would think the fools were the Democrats, and the cowards were the Republicans because they were afraid to go against Donald Trump. But here at Politicking Our Way, we want to tell you the truth. So what really is that the cowards were the Democrats and the fools are the Republican. And I'll give you a little understanding why I believe that to be the case. So what is it really about? Okay. It's really, it's not about racism. It's not a black or white issue. It's a power struggle, ladies and gentlemen. It's about who's on top, who runs what. So when you think of it in that frame, right? What you got on the right is the fools. Yeah, the Republicans, they're not cowards. They're not afraid of Donald Trump. But they are foolishly following him and his practice and his frauds. On the left, you have the Democrats, which are cowards. They were coward in the process of how they did the layout of the impeachment. They knew they had enough to impeach him. Everybody knows he's been a horrible president, self-contained, self-glorified, and looking only out for Donald J. Trump. So what does that mean? When you put your hand on that Bible on inauguration and you claim to take an oath of office that says that you will protect the Constitution of these United States, it had nothing in there about self-interest. But since he's been in office, that's all he's done. Everything that he's done has been about the betterment of Donald J. Trump and those around him. And initially, he had the Senate and the House by the short and curly pubic hair, saying, if you don't vote for me in these mid-elections, these mad white guys, old white guys who only vote in the mid-election, is going to kick you out. Well, what happened in the mid-election was that we came out and we showed up. And there was a blue wave. It wasn't a tidal wave, but it was a blue wave, and they lost quite a bit of seats. So we were able to take the House back gloriously, but we lost the Senate, which we knew we was going to lose anyway. So what really happens was there's no longer fear on the right that you're going to lose if you don't align yourself with Donald Trump. The real fear is that you're going to lose your way of living, the thought process of power in the United States. Let's face it, the Constitution was written by elite white landowners back in the colonial days, okay? They didn't go out to get the regular little farmer or anybody else to say, hey, contribute to this document as we're trying to break away from England. That's not what happened. Yeah, taxation without representation was a cause, but it was really fundamentally about power. Those in power during the colonial times, you know, the Thomas Jeffersons and the big landowners, because, you know, land is king, and it still is. If you own a piece of property in America, you are an American with a voice. You pay taxes that pay for education and a lot of other stuff. That's a whole different conversation. But if you find yourself being a renter in the United States, you're just taking up space. And I'll explain to you a little later what that means. Didn't mean to step on anyone's toes, but let's be serious. If you're not a landowner in the United States, you're not paying property taxes, somewhat of a second-class citizen. I know that burns most of us because I too have been a renter. I too am a landowner. But the honest to God truth is, man, your vote counts. Your voice counts. But if you don't strive to get out there and own a piece of the pie, you're just renting space. Okay? Let's be honest. This is how we politic, our way. We tell the truth to our people, whether it hurts or not. So here we go. So let's talk back again about this whole impeachment process. So what happened with the cowards on the Democratic side were they knew they were going to be able to impeach him, but they also knew to able to get it over to the Senate side and get a trial, they had to produce enough evidence of a crime, right, to get them to even consider it. So this obstruction of Congress, what a hell of a term, okay? This whole other piece, come on, man. Come on, man. Why didn't you throw in bribery? Because that's clearly called out in the Constitution as an impeachable crime. But did they really want to remove him from office and set the stage for future presidents? Nah, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to do what they could as Democrats, hold face and be foolish enough and cowardly enough to say, we're not going to rock the entire boat because we still need that populist vote, those angry white guys. We need those people in the middle, and we need some of these minorities that's always aligned with us Democrats anyway, only because the Republicans aren't welcoming to them, not because we've done a great job for them. They don't have anywhere else to go. Independents ain't never going to win anything. So independents, minorities, and all normally line up democratically. So they're going to do enough, just enough, living for the city. Stevie Wonder. Hope I didn't bastardize that too much. Just enough for the city. Okay? So they moved that over to the Senate where they knew it was going to get trashed and thrown out. So first they voted out any witnesses, they voted out any new documents and all that good stuff just to say, okay, we're going to do our constitutional duty by having a trial. The trial was a farce. A few opening statements, no witnesses. I don't know about y'all, I've been to court a lot in my life, and I've never sat in a trial where folks didn't get up, raise their right hand, and tell a story about what they viewed as what happened in the crime. There were no witnesses. There were no new documents presented. So was that really a trial? Well, it's a political process. So it's run by the political party in charge, which was the Republicans, which means they didn't have to follow judiciary practices by bringing forth witnesses and documentation. So what really happened was the cowards passed it over to the fools. Well, the fools, you know, that group of the old white boy society over there in the Senate, those fools decided we're no longer cowards, but we are losing the benefit of being in power. Going to the census in the next 20 to 30 years, the white majority will become the white minority. That's the racist line. But within that depiction is a process of a power shift. The power shift is going to be, now that you're no longer the majority, you still want to have the privilege of power. So what do? The first thing we do is we overload the court system with conservatives. So we'll always have the process of law and its determination in our favor. And I'm speaking from the privileged few, okay? So they overload the courts. They blocked all of Obama's courts, judges and such. And then when this clown comes through, he jumped on that highly conservative piece and flooded them. Then he got the evangelists behind him. They really don't care for Donald Trump. But they're foolish enough to think because he votes on their agenda, pro-life, and all these other conservative things that protect the church, okay, they're going to align themselves foolishly behind him. It clearly states in the Bible that the devil's going to show up in the pulpit. Don't wait for this red horned figure with the fork pick and the tail to jump down into your church. He already inside those evangelist preachers who have aligned themselves foolishly behind this demagogue that we now call president. Okay, that's Donald Trump. So all you guys going to these conservative churches and thinking that, oh, he's pro-life and he's so much in line with our Christian faith, you a damn fool. Okay? What is he doing for your life? He's only doing that so you can still become the consumer that he needs to fulfill his prophecy of profit. Come on, let's wake up, people. Let's look at again what's happening. Now that we've gotten through impeachment, today is the day of the State of the Union. Everybody's saying, Donald, get up there and speak. Talk about what's going on in the economy, how great it is. Well, let's look at this great economy. Trickle down economics. All the reports are that all the areas, especially middle class, are doing so much better. Then why is people in the middle class working 2 and 3 jobs to make living life standards that they used to do off of one job, not even 15, 20 years ago? Why have so many people are now left the unemployment ranks, not even being counted? Why there's so much disparity in income between poor and wealthy? Why is the homeless population growing at such a rate that we've never seen in American history? I'll tell you why. It's real simple. The numbers don't bear out, okay? That Trump tax plan padded the rich, took privilege to a whole new height, and the thought was, as it did under Reagan and all these other foolish endeavors about economics, they said if you load it up at the top, it'll trickle down. Dude, ladies, nothing ever trickles down. If it is, it's just droplings.
Who's the Traps?
Productions.